Hey, what's up? This is Coach Tex Rimbert, DFW, Penguin Basketball, Penguinhoops.com, all that good stuff. Guys, before we get started, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, share this with someone that you care about that has children. Uh, as you know, I'm really big on sports psychology, and a lot of my videos are based upon that. And if you gain anything from this, feel free to share this with someone. But today I want to talk about, I got to thinking about this today watching a game the other day, an NBA game, and I always tell my guys all the time about this certain situation is, why is it so hard, or why do teams lose big leads over a long period of time in basketball? Now, what I mean by that is you're up by 30 points with 10 minutes to go in a game on a team that your team is obviously superior to, and you've been losing or you've been beating them by 30 all game, and then all of a sudden you look up at the end and you end up losing by one or two, or you barely squeak by and win by one or two. All right, so we're gonna try to make this real quick. Number one, when you're a coach and as a player, especially coaches. Now I blame this on coaches the most though, but you naturally ease up. Now, as a player, I always tell my guys in games when we're up big, I always tell them that we can lose the game and the other team can come back, right? It's just kind of like you getting in a fight at school or something like that, and you punch the guy, you knock him on the ground, and you think he's out. You think he's out cold, and you turn around um, to walk off, only to figure out that that guy got up, and then he turned around and punched you and knocked you out, and you lose the fight, right? So I always tell my kids, keep kicking the guy while he's down in basketball terms. So when you're up by 20, you need to play like you're down by 20. Don't ease up. Okay. The main thing with coaches, a lot of times with coaches, um, out of sympathy for other players that don't get much playing time, they start to play guys that shouldn't get playing time in games like that, right? So you start to sub guys in, and a lot of times, especially in youth sports, they start to sub a whole group of 5 guys in that shouldn't be in the game. So let's say your first 5 or 6 guys that play most of the minutes can easily put you up by 30, 35 points while they're in the game, right? And let's say you're a coach and you sub 4 of those guys out, and you sub 4 guys in that don't really get much playing time or extremely beginner when it comes to skill. Now the other team is still trying to catch up, and they don't want to get embarrassed. They're losing about 36 points. They don't want to get embarrassed, and you look up 5 minutes later, and that 35-point lead turns into a 12-point lead, right? Now some coaches know how to balance it out to get guys in there, and it's one of the things that I've mastered as a coach is playing guys, being able to play guys and disguise them in games to where they can get a little bit of playing time or as much playing time as others. But a lot of coaches do not have the ability to do that, or either they just constantly sub one guy in. They will never sub 3 or 4 guys out at one time in a game like that. They'll sub one guy in and rotate the guys that can't play in one position, right? Number two, the other team continues to play hard, right? So when you make these subs, they keep coming after you. They keep coming after you. Now, they may be down 30, but that coach on the other team, sometimes, depending on who he is, if you subbing your guys out, he's putting his starters in. He's not taking his guys that can play or his best players out to sub in guys that need more playing time and things of that nature. They're trying to win. So when they're down 30 and you make that sub and you sub 4 guys in that are deep on the bench, the other coach is pressing you hard, trying to close that gap on the lead. All right? Another thing, number 3, in youth sports, you guys may not notice it, but I notice it a lot as a coach. When the team is up by 30 or 40 or something like that, the refs start to call the game totally different. And a lot of times, depending on who it is, depending on who the coach is, depending on how the team is, the referee may show sympathy or give sympathy calls to the team that's getting blown out. So normally on a kid shoots a 3 or something like that and he barely gets tapped, the ref may call it in a game where it's a blowout just to try to help the kid out, and he don't realize that, hey, you know, you making these little small calls can end up snowballing and hurting the team that's winning. Giving them little ticky-tack fouls to help them out. If the other team is being really aggressive against the team that's winning, and bumping them hard, which are normal calls that the referee would normally call in a tight game, he's letting it go, and the team that's losing is getting the advantage because they're being extra aggressive and they're pushing the kids, which will cause the turnovers and other plays to happen. And you look up, you're up 22, and then you're up 6 within 5 minutes, and you wonder what's going on. So the referees control a lot of the game when it comes to basketball. They can control it. So the referee can be part of the reason why that gap is closing. That's another reason why it's so hard to keep a big lead for a long time. Number 4, and one of the big things that happen, okay, especially depending on the crowd, like, the momentum shifts. So let's say you're up by 20 and it's 5 minutes to go. You're up 22 points. And those kids on the other team that are losing, they're pressing, they're getting all up in the guys. Kids are getting rowdy because they're making a couple of plays, hitting a couple of threes. The parents are getting all into it. The coach is getting all into it. And now you were up 22. Now you're only up 6. And you make that sub to get all your starters back in. And now it's 2 minutes left in the game. Sometimes it's too late because now these guys that have been sitting on the bench, they're over there resting. Oh, we bleep these guys. The game's over. They're mentally checked out. They're watching the game, but they're not thinking. They're watching the game from the bench, but they're not thinking, oh, these guys are going to actually come back, and we're going to have to go back in to be able to keep this win. And it happens. And sometimes that momentum shift is too late, and those other guys that have been losing, you know, they're so hyped, they're amped up, their adrenaline is pumping so high, and your starters that normally, you know, will put you up 20 or 30 points easily within 3 minutes, they can't do it. The momentum shifts with the refs as well. So those are the 4 reasons why it's hard to keep a big lead for a long time. Number 1, naturally, you ease up as a player and as a coach. You know, by making subs, the players not playing as hard, players laughing off missed layups or free throws, not really care about making them miss them because you're up by a lot of points, things of that nature. Number 2, the other team continues to play hard even though you're not. And that's self-explanatory. Number 3, the refs can control it by calling the game easier for the team that's losing or making it, you know, giving them sympathy calls for the team that's losing. And number 4 is the momentum shifts, and then it's too late to come back. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Share this with someone that you care about if you got something from this, all right? And I will see you guys later.